Well, we continue on with the Big Connect, and I do want to let everyone know that we'll have our Zoom rooms open. We're going to get to Bill Strickland in just a few moments, but if you've been tuning in with us for the last several days, you know we do a segment called Start with Art. We do it at 8:50 every morning, and we're very pleased to once again start with art. All right, well, we seem to be having a little bit of a technical difficulty with the video, which is too bad because that was a great start with art. But you know, the reason why we do start with art is we are trying to let everyone know about just what a critical role the arts play in the greater New Haven region. So thank you. It was great music that we heard there. And if we can get back to that later today, we definitely will. Again, thank you for attending the nonprofit awards breakfast, the stars align. I do want to introduce our presenting sponsor. Comcast Business is the presenting sponsor of the Business Expo, and Paul Savas is the director for Western New England region, and I believe we have Paul right now.
Good morning, it's Paul Savas with Comcast Business. I know you're looking forward to a great day here at the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce Big Connect. You know, we're excited to be the presenting sponsor for now our 11th year. It's an amazing opportunity to showcase some of the best that the local businesses in our business community have to offer. Businesses just like yours. Take the time, go to the virtual booths, enjoy the day, make great connections, and support the Chamber. Have a great day, and thanks for being part of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce Big Connect.
And thank you, Paul. We appreciate it. The support from Comcast Business, everything that they do for us to be able to put on 4 days of a virtual expo. We also have a sponsor for the day today, and that is AMS Practice Management. And we're joined by Chris Amaral. AMS help you with your recruitment needs, and a great sponsor. They were a room sponsor for us last year when we were in person, and now we're very pleased to have them as the day sponsor today on Wednesday at the Big Connect. So Chris, are you there?
I am. Good morning.
Morning, Chris. Thanks.
So we're really grateful, really proud to be a part of the Chamber and in a position to support events like this. Seeing how the New Haven and Quinnipiac Chamber teams have adjusted methods in order to stay relevant to the business community has really been noteworthy. And so on behalf of a small business in New Haven County, thanks for your support on the daily and in assembling events like this. At AMS, we're recruiters servicing customers with everything from engineers to nurses to attorneys and paralegals to entry-level manufacturing to HR and sales. We recently had a customer who was looking for a high-level manager for several months and with several recruiters, and they had no luck. When we were asked to help, not only did we fill the position within a couple of weeks, we did so under budget and were immediately asked back to help with another role as well. My point in sharing that story is that at AMS recruiting, our goal is first and foremost to be a trusted partner. And if that means a customer needs a direct hire, a temporary employee, maybe a temp to perm employee, we're in their corner. Our fees are contingent on success, and we only send the best candidates available. So whether you're a small business or a public giant, a young nonprofit, or a mature for-profit, we have a program for you. If you're looking to hire, give AMS Recruiting a call. We're happy to help. And again, thank you so much to the Chamber and to Garrett for the opportunity to be a part of this event for the second year in a row. We're very excited to hear the conversations unfold today, and can't wait to see businesses thrive as a result. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it. We appreciate your partnership on this program, but also so many of our other ones as well. So I do want to remind everyone, we do networking as a big piece of the Big Connect. And so you can join our Zoom lounge, the networking room. It's live all day. In several instances, our speakers will be moving over there after they present. So just be aware that you can go join up with the speakers. We'll let you know who is doing that and who is not, but really encourage everyone to go over there. And then we'll have dedicated networking times again tomorrow morning and as we close out the program. So opportunities to connect with other attendees, and definitely visit the virtual booths. It's a great opportunity to meet people. This is a very different format than what we normally have, but it's an exciting way where you can still make those connections. We need to have business taking place. Also, I want to give you one last reminder about our Foxwoods Prize from Foxwoods Resorts Casino. And when you go to the booths, you can check in there. That will enter you in for a chance to win the prize at the end of the day. I want to thank our sponsor of our next speaker, Inner City News. We do a lot of partnering with Inner City News, and we appreciate their support throughout the year. And so thank you so much for presenting our next speaker. And I'm very pleased to welcome in our next speaker. Our next speaker is very well known, and he's our keynote, Bill Strickland, the president and CEO of Manchester Bidwell Corporation. Hope is the cure for cancer of the human spirit. And Bill, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to make sure that we can get your camera on there. I know I saw you out there logging in a few moments ago. So I'll make sure we can get you up, but thank you again for joining us and being a part of our program, The Big Connect. Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I was reading about the work that you've done in Pittsburgh. You have an amazing story, and also the work that you've been able to do in the Pittsburgh area and to help that city and help the people of that city. We're excited to hear about your story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, first of all, since we scheduled this, I've retired technically.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm the executive chairman, Manchester Bidwell Corporation. Uh, so anyway, we have a CEO who's doing a great job, Kevin Jenkins. And so I've passed the succession test with flying colors. He's doing a great job. And I am continuing to work supporting the program in my new role. But how would you like me to proceed? I can talk about anything forever. But would you be interested in hearing what the center does, or about me, or we can do this as a Q&A.
Great. Well, yeah, Bill, first I was just struck by your own story. And I know when you were young, you had an interaction with someone who really changed the course of your life. So maybe that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, essentially, public school student in the neighborhood where I continue to work. And an art teacher, a guy named Frank Ross, really changed my life. He was a ceramic artist. And almost coincidentally, I was walking down the hallway of our school. Art room door was open. The guy made this incredible pot. I was transfixed by the image, stood at the door, said, "I want you to teach me that." And so for the remaining years of my high school, I apprenticed with this man. And he said, "You're too smart to die. You're not going to prison or like many of your buddies. You're going to college." So he hounded me till I filled out with some reluctance an application to the University of Pittsburgh. Miraculously, I got in on probation, almost flunked out the first term. Second term, I'm on the dean's list. The moral of the story is I end up on the board of the place, and they gave me an honorary PhD. And at the commencement address, I got up and said, "Don't give up on the poor kids. They might end up being the commencement speaker someday." And so basically what I did was I went out and built a center dedicated to those principles that I had discovered with Mr. Ross in his classroom. It's now called Manchester Bidwell Corporation. It's a very big deal. We work with hundreds of students, many of whom are chronically unemployed, on public assistance, etc. And we work with them in the arts, and we work with them in vocational education. And we've gotten pretty good at this over the years. So we're working with students who basically, in one way or another, have given up on themselves. And we built a world-class facility by a student of Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect. So we have this stunning facility. It was the scale model for the Pittsburgh airport, and it's breathtaking. And what we have done is built a world-class facility for people who don't think they deserve one. And what we've learned is that the environment drives behavior. World-class environments create world-class students. Prisons create prisoners. So we built this world-class training center, and we now work with a number of corporate leaders in the community, Bayer, Heinz, Calgon Carbon, and so forth, on the vocational side. And I work with about 300 kids from the public school system in ceramics, photography, drawing, and digital imaging. And that program has dramatically increased the graduation rates and the college accessibility for the students who come here for our experience in the arts. We also, at the time I built it, added the music hall, and we started off with Dizzy Gillespie, and Herbie Hancock showed up, and Wynton Marsalis showed up, and Shirley Horn showed up, and Betty Carter, and the Count Basie Orchestra. And 5 Grammys later, we've become the small record company with the highest win rate of Grammy Awards of anybody in the country, maybe the world. And so jazz is also a part of the educational and artistic experience of the center that we operate.
Bill, so many people are facing obstacles and challenges just given the pandemic. I'm sure as you were starting out, a lot of people say that, what you're trying to do can't be done. Why are you even trying to do this? What were the challenges you faced? How did you oversee those? How did you see light at the end of the tunnel as far as what you were trying to accomplish?
Well, I've been at this for 50 years, one center in my neighborhood. So if you're in a hurry, this is not the line of work for you. Go buy a Pizza Hut and live happily ever after. If you want to use the arts to change the trajectory of lives that have been damaged, you have to plan to stay a while. It's always a work in progress, and we don't have enough time for this call to tell you about all the disappointments. I can tell you about the successes. We've got several PhDs who have graduated from this program. In fact, a third of the faculty who work here are former students. So we believe in our own product, and that is a big key to the success of our effort. We never give up. You have to be relentless and determined and consistent, and the ability to demonstrate multiple abilities in multiple fronts. You have to be a grantsman, you have to be a fundraiser, you have to be an administrator. So it's all of those skill sets that come to bear if you want to do this line of work.
And Bill, I know when we started talking about this, hope is the cure for the cancer of the human spirit. Talk through that a little bit. When you talk about hope, I think I see that in your programs, what you have. You guys are offering hope, and your story has all been about hope.
Yes, sir. Well, I discovered that when you're poor, even when the students come in the building at first, they walk with their heads down. And I noticed that, and after a while, they started to pick their heads up. And I said to a number of the students, you have every right to the sun. That's not just for rich kids. And so what we've been able to discover is a methodology for getting the kids to re-believe in themselves and to perform at a very, very high level. So it's art not to have a good day. It's art to save your life. And we provide this medicine to the kids, and they really respond by their attendance, by their performance, etc. So over the years, I won something called a MacArthur Fellowship because I believed I discovered the cure for cancer of the human spirit. It's by building a world-class center, having world-class faculty, and a physical environment that is bright and hopeful. We serve gourmet food to the students. And so we have living examples of all the things that we believe in. So it's not a theory, it's a way of looking at life on a daily basis. So you walk into a place that's designed well, operated well, with a faculty that is very motivated, and it has a very powerful effect on people's perception of what a future could look like. When you're poor, economically or spiritually, you don't have hope that the day is going to improve. Well, here at Manchester Craftsman's Guild and Bidwell Training Center, we start off with the assumption that you're an asset, not a liability. And if you treat people like assets, they behave like that. And that's what we discovered, and that's what we live by every day. And it works. In fact, it's worked so well that we've built 13 centers like this around the world, including Israel, where we have Palestinians and Jews going to school together every day, getting along fine. So we know that the methodology is exportable. And my goal is to build hundreds of these centers around the world someday.
Bill, we're the Chamber of Commerce for New Haven. I've always been impressed by the Pittsburgh story, and you're part of that. And Pittsburgh, obviously, huge steel city, powerhouse. Things went downhill for a while, but Pittsburgh's rejuvenated itself into a tech hub, tech center, still steel and manufacturing. What are some of the lessons for everyone about Pittsburgh? Why Pittsburgh's been such a resilient city?
Well, we have the advantage of being a multicultural city as well. And there is value in diversity. And a lot of the innovation has come from the culture that we've created in Pittsburgh, which is very inviting, very optimistic, and very hopeful. So we came out of the darkness of a recession in steel, and we became so determined with good political leadership that we were able to represent ourselves as a place of hope. And the Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies that were birthed here, like the Heinz Company, for example, Calgon Carbon, BASF, stayed and invested themselves and their money and their talent in helping to revitalize Pittsburgh. And so we are one of the programs that kind of rose from the ashes of that steel recession and now are becoming a magnet for innovation and technology, et cetera. But that was created in large part because we have a cultural heritage that's very rich and thriving. And I believe that that had a big effect in attracting a lot of the modern day technology companies to a place like Pittsburgh.
I know a lot of your success has been the relationships that you formed with businesses. We've been talking a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Any thoughts on things that businesses, the corporate world should be doing to become more diverse, to become more inclusive, and change where we are in America?
Well, that's a big question, but
That sure is.
The reality is, if you want to get diverse, go hire people who are diverse. You don't need a task force or a white paper to figure out how to do the right thing. People ask me, well, what do the Black people feel? I said, well, why don't you go talk to the Black people and ask them? Since I don't happen to represent the Black race, I happen to represent one school. So I think the answer to your question is, if you want to be diverse, you have to make a deliberate decision that you're going to include people of diverse backgrounds. You have to do that at an accelerated rate so that you give the impression that you're in a hurry to solve this problem. And don't make it too academic, make it operational and make it consistent with your desire to change the outlook and the character of your company. That's how you get to the answer.
So, as I started out saying, I heard you speak about the relationships that you had with business, and that really has shaped Manchester Bidwell and the programming, deep partnerships where you bring in business to sit on your board. As we work with employers, we think that's so critical that the talent is matching up with what the businesses need. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, with all due respect to the HR department in a lot of these companies, don't put the HR people on your board. The people you want to be on your board are the movers and shakers. Not people who interview people for a living, but people who are able to control the direction and the assets of the company. Those are the people you want on your board because they can make key decisions in terms of directing resources from their respective company to help you carry out your program. That's what I did with IBM. That's what I did with the Heinz Corporation. That's what I did with Bayer, Calgon Carbon, et cetera. We included those folks on our boards. And sure enough, not only did they become enthusiastic supporters of the place, they also became employers of the students that they in effect had a hand in training. So it became a self-fulfilling self-actualizing proposition. So rather than drive the companies away from you, you want to do the opposite, which is to bring them towards you. And once they kind of see how you roll and that you can produce excellence, they become your best friends and they become your advocates.
And Bill, so many nonprofits right now are struggling. We just had our nonprofit awards program just before you came on. You guys have an incredible story of probably expanding in areas that people said, why are you doing that? And expansion's not for everyone, but just navigating, leading a nonprofit. Tell us some of the things that you kept in mind to keep the organization vibrant, and then those opportunities that you jumped on to add to the full components of what Manchester Bidwell is.
Well, at its core, particularly the arts program, I went out and found experts in their field first. And so you want to hire a faculty that exudes the objectives and the goals of your program, because they will be the people that represent the students well, get them excited, and help you create the environment that becomes innovative and creative, et cetera. You are known by the company you keep. So if you have students that are excited, if you have a faculty that is excited, I guarantee you that your end product is going to be one of innovation and excitement. If you hire people who are not excited, you get a non-exciting program. So a lot of it's common sense, which happens to be in very short supply in our country right now. But common sense, I think, is a big part of the answer. The other part is you have to create a community where you work that inspires you. So it's a two-way street, not a one-way street. And that has worked out pretty good in our case. And if you create that community, it tends to attract people of like-minded spirit. And that's really, over the years, how I built my faculty.
And just the diversity of subject matters too. And I know you have world-class orchids and world-class jazz as well. How does that all fit together?
Well, it fits together in my mind. That's how it fits together. That's how I look at the world. I look at the world as a set of possibilities, not a set of limitations. And I have a natural curiosity about how things work. And so I thought, if I build a greenhouse, maybe we could do something in the greenhouse area. And I did. I fell in love with orchids, built a hot facility to grow them, and we built a horticultural training program to go with it, which now has a waiting list and about a 90% placement rate in the industry for which they were trained. Plus, you get the additional opportunity to sell the product in stores. And so there's a social enterprise dimension to that as well. But we've also morphed into hydrangeas and at Christmas time, poinsettias. So what started off as orchids is now literally grown into several other subject areas and a horticultural program along with it. So one idea became three ideas, and that's how we do things here at Manchester Bidwell. It's a culture that expresses innovation every day we get up. And that is what allows you to continue to grow, because you hire people who think like that. And I encourage them to think like that and go find a piece of the world that they want to change. And I've been very clever in finding resources to help them accomplish those goals.
And we can start taking some questions in the chat. I know we have a few on Huva, so I'll read this one to you, Bill. Someone mentioning Pittsburgh's a lot like New Haven with eds and meds. How do you see, what's the role of universities in Pittsburgh? How do they best interact with the community?
Well, in our case, a lot of the universities take our kids, I mean, as undergraduates. And so that's one big way. Also, universities have a lot of resources at their disposal. And we have become the poster boy for developing strategic programs and alliances with the university system. And that has been very helpful to our students on a day in and day out basis. And so I think there's a lot to be said here in terms of the university and its connection to public education and to learning. And the university also contributes to us by loaning us faculty that help us develop programs. Those programs ended up, in many cases, being implemented. So it's a win-win relationship for the universities, for our center, and also the employers. Everybody, it becomes a part of that continuum.
Before we hit the pandemic, and even coming out of it, when we do get to that point, workforce has been a big issue in our community, and just matching up those skills with the jobs that are needed. And I know we talked a little bit earlier about the relationship with the employers, but what is it? How do you make sure that you stay fresh with what you're doing, that you are matching up the jobs that are going to be on the other end of it for the students that go through your program?
Well, by going out and talking to the employers on a repeated basis, not one stop fits all. You go back, because as the technology changes, you're under an obligation to make sure you change with the technology. And we do that. We will upgrade our curriculums every 6 months if necessary. And that way we are reassured of being able to train and replicate and innovate material that is relevant to our employers. So it's an active conversation, not an inactive conversation. I've oftentimes gone back to schools that are still teaching the material I was taught 25 years ago. And so that is not a curriculum of innovation. They're teaching ancient history. Our curriculums can be as contemporary as 6 months old. And I think that's the spirit that you have to bring to this kind of work if it's going to be static and if it's going to be organic and grow. You have to grow with it.
And it sounds like, too, it's that culture, as you mentioned, that culture of innovation. So I imagine everyone on the team is thinking about what's next. It's not that thought process of this is what we have, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And they're hired here because they bring those characteristics to the employment opportunity. I personally, or one of my staff, will interview a lot of the senior people who work here, and we are very interested in whether or not they possess those kind of insights and skills before they're hired. So they add to the pool of knowledge and experience. And I believe that we work through our people. They can be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.
So how do students get into your program? How do you find and then choose the kids that are going to get to take part in this?
Well, on the arts part, it's basically sign up, show up. And we give you an option for ceramics or photography or digital imaging, and the kids match up. In many cases, we do a tour, of course, and by the time, and we have artists who go into the schools as well to promote those programs. On the vocational side, it's students who have expressed an interest in employment, and they show up. We give them an aptitude test, not pass fail, but just to make an assessment of where their academic level is, and we build from that. So interview on the vocational side and just attendance on the art side. And we can tell pretty much in the first 30 days whether they're interested or not. And so there's a natural culling out process that happens. And we're able to maintain pretty good numbers pretty consistently with both the kids and the adults.
And I imagine that, people know about the program, and does that drive kids' interest in wanting to be a part of it? They see something that they can do that can take them to a different place?
Oh, yeah. We have alumni now that's very deep, and they really market the program. It's not just me It's not just the faculty, it's the kids themselves. Have come here, and many of them have become quite famous, actually. Uh, One of our guys won a MacArthur. Um, One of our students has his PhD, is associate professor at a major university, et cetera. So we have those kinds of examples to point to for kids who are coming into the program. So by word of mouth, they know it works. So we have no problem recruiting students to come here. Great reputation, well earned.
Are there kids that you can't reach that you want to? And I guess what are some of your thoughts on those students who either they haven't gotten that spark or interest yet, and how do you get to them?
Well, you stay with it. I'm not in the miracle business. I'm in the hard work business. And our doors open, and sometimes it takes kids a year or two to realize that this is what they want to do. And we have a lot of patience. We're not going anywhere. And the door is always open. So some kids come and get it for the first time they walk in the door, other kids don't. But if you're consistent and have sustainability, we ended up filling up all our classes pretty regularly. So we're not worried about that part.
And I'll just invite everyone again, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll get those to Bill. Bill, you mentioned that it's grown to centers across the world, Israel. So this is obviously repeatable. Where else are you growing? Is this something that could happen here in our community?
You're in New Haven?
Yep.
Well, you know about Concat, I'm sure.
Yeah, we know Concat very well. Very
Okay,
well.
I built Concat.
Oh, wow, excellent.
Yeah, so New Haven's one of our cities. They're the poster boy for the program. And Carlton Highsmith and Eric Clemens are my guys. And I serve on their board. And we built a wonderful training program and a wonderful arts program that's doing incredible work. And in fact, the cafeteria is called the Orchid Cafe in honor of my interest in orchids. So I am very, very excited about what they are doing. And we need to build more Concats, not just for New Haven, but Connecticut in general.
Well, Bill, Concat is such an important part here in New Haven, and it's continuing to grow. As you've been involved in Concat, what have you seen about New Haven? What has struck you?
Well, New Haven has gotten very excited about Concat, and Concat is now beginning to think about what it can do for a whole community in New Haven. Carlton Highsmith is their visionary chairman, and Eric Clemens is the visionary operations guy, and these guys are on fire.
They are.
And it's just turned out to be a world-class model that has helped us build other centers because of their success, and the obvious outcomes that they're getting is driving a lot of great PR for New Haven, as well as it should.
As you looked at New Haven when you worked with Carlton and Eric, are the challenges here the same as you saw in Pittsburgh?
Pretty much. I mean, poverty is poverty. It doesn't matter which city it's in. It all feels about the same. But opportunity is opportunity. And if you visit Concat, you see it has a beautiful facility, just like ours in Pittsburgh. And so we are committed to beautiful environments and beautiful faculty. That's our brand. And it's worked out pretty successfully in the 10 or 12 cities that we now have operating centers in.
We have a question here from one of our attendees. As someone who is in the process of attempting to create an athletic complex for our programming, what advice do you have?
Did you say athletics?
Yep, this was one of our awardees in our nonprofit program. So athletic programs for youth. So what advice would you have? He's starting to try to build a physical location.
Well, I don't know anything about athletics. I mean, in the sense that I don't play baseball or football, so I can't be of much help there. What I would suggest, though, is that you build a professional program that is that goes beyond recreation and gets involved in training. You know, Serena Williams got to be a world-class tennis player because her father went out and found the best instructors, including himself, in the world and trained these young women to become the world-class people that they are. So if you want to build a program, go find world-class athletes to staff the program, either as volunteers or be on the board, so that you start off with a representation of the goals that you want your students to achieve. So you move beyond recreation and you move into education.
Bill, I know you talk a lot about mentorship, and that seems to wind its way through all of the programs you talked. What's the role that anyone listening today can play as a mentor?
Well, be one. That's the answer. You can. You don't have to be a Mother Teresa or somebody to do this work. There are plenty of young people in your community who need help. They're in the public schools. A lot of them are in dropout centers, homeless shelters, etc. Go volunteer your services and pick one or pick several and start to work with these children or adults. And you don't have to go to school to be a mentor. You just have to be a decent human being and stay one or two steps ahead of the people that you're working with. But if we all could adopt that philosophy, we could move this conversation along a lot more dramatically. I mean, it's corny stuff, but it's sort of taking care of your fellow man. And I believe if our community started to do that more, we could really move this ball much more dramatically down the court.
Bill, we talked about Concat and the great things that they're doing. What kind of more support could they use, just like your programs did, to keep that going, keep that momentum going?
Well, unfortunately, funding is a challenge when you're doing this kind of work. I'm sure some of your awardees have figured that out already. You got to gain financial support in order to do good things. It doesn't come for free. So helping Concat to raise money, putting them in touch with people who can give money, I think is one of the fundamental ways that you could really help their center to continue to grow, because the problem they've taken on is vast. And they're just really now just scratching the surface of what the need is. So I think helping on the philanthropy side, helping to recruit people who would be interested in helping to support Concat would be very physical things that you could do, anyone could do.
Bill, I know you said you've technically retired this year. What types of things are you up to now? That sounded like you're still doing a lot.
No, the same thing I was doing before my title changed. That's why I'm talking to you this morning. I'm talking from my office. And we're continuing to build centers. We're now planning one in Puerto Rico. We're going to Belfast, Ireland next year. And we have Vancouver, and we're talking to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I think there's a great opportunity in the works there. So we've got a lot going in that regard, and it's very, very exciting stuff.
And Bill, how have you guys managed during the pandemic, being able to still provide training and reach students?
It's very hard work and very tough work because people are really hurting. The pandemic has taken the soul out of most of the students. They've been hit in the plexus. Their breath is taken away. They've been hurting so much, and it's exhausting to do this kind of work. as any of the hospital workers or healthcare workers will tell you, it's very difficult watching people slowly die or watch their faith get crumbled. It's not very pleasant work. So my recommendation is take it slow, be consistent with your message, and don't give up hope. Hope is the cure that can basically save all of us. And so I would really strongly support, if you're going to get into this work, that you plan to stay a while, because it is not for the faint of heart. You really have to believe in this stuff to keep it going.
And how do we, as a nation, recover and rebuild after the pandemic? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't answer that question because it's too complicated. What I hope is that if a vaccine comes along that works, that will, from a medical perspective, begin to ameliorate the conditions that the pandemic created. And so my hope is that the antidote will give us literally a chance to breathe fresh air, and put into motion a plan to allow people who were sick to recover, and allow people who have recovered to stay that way. So it becomes a self-fulfilling sort of cyclical answer to your question. And so like I said, it's not miracle work, it's hard work. And that's where you've got to focus your energies and your attentions if we're ever going to come out of this pandemic.
Let me close, we'll get close to closing here, but what are some of the next programs that you think you'll be implementing into your school? What are those next jobs that you want to be a part of? I know I've heard you talk about robotics as a huge opportunity. What's next?
AI, artificial intelligence, is getting very hot, and a topic that we are looking at very closely here at our center. And the Center for Translation Science is working with us, University of Pittsburgh, to begin to move into that space. And we also, as I mentioned, are dealing with developing a robotics curriculum in partnership with Carnegie Mellon University, who really are leading the charge in terms of implementing programs of that magnitude here at our training center. So I think that's a possibility for something that we might look at in the future.
Well, Bill, any final message you think we should take away from your experience, from the incredible work you've done in Pittsburgh?
Well, I think two things. One, if you haven't read my book, you ought to read it, because it's a pretty good book. And it also suggests ways that you can do this work yourself. So I think it could be a great manual for keeping your hope and faith alive in this kind of work, which is not easy. It's for survivors only. But I think with people like yourself who are interested in this subject, you can be used as a fulcrum to generate further interest in this topic. And who knows, one center equals two centers equal 4 centers, and you get the logarithmic effect going, and all of a sudden you've got 10, and 10 become 20, and all of a sudden this becomes a very big story. So I would encourage your awardees to pick up on that theme and begin to implement that in your wonderful community of New Haven. And I'm honored to be included as one of your speakers today.
Well, thanks, Bill. And we're so glad to know that you're involved in CONCAT. You're already here in New Haven, supporting that program. And when things get better, we look forward to seeing you physically here and getting together.
That's a deal. I can't wait to get up there in person.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Bill. Bill, if you've got a few minutes, you can go to we have a Zoom room where we could have you network, but I understand if you got to get going on, we're just going to put in the chat the link there. But really, anyone who wants to go network, I'm not sure if Bill's going to be available to speak for a few minutes over there, but continue to talk.
I will not, because I'm going upstairs to record a jazz album, literally right now in our recording studio.
Okay, well, that sounds important, and thank you so much, Bill. We really do appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Good.
All right, take care.
Good holiday.
Thank you. And as I was mentioning, we do have our Zoom lounge room is open. So if you want to network in there, you can go over to the Zoom networking room, sponsored by the Energy Efficiency Programs at Southern Connecticut Gas and UI. And again, just a reminder, we have those prizes from Foxwoods Resort Casino, but you have to go visit the booths to be able to go over there. I do want to thank again Inner City News, Babs Rawls. I know she joined us for a moment. They were a sponsor of Bill. We do a lot of work with Inner City News and appreciate their support and sponsorship of the program today. We have a few minutes before we get to our next program, so we do want to go back to Start with Art. We started playing that program just at the beginning this morning. We had a little technical issue with the video, so we're going to roll that again, and please enjoy. Again, we start with art every morning. And the video is coming up. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Danny and Dave. You really gave me a lot. Talk to me. You like second family to me, and I'll never forget you. Love you guys. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you to Art. And as we said, we start with Art every morning here, and we're glad we can get that full video. Before we get to our next panel, just want to make a few announcements. I want to remind everyone that we do have the Zoom Lounge networking room. You can go there. Some of our speakers, and we'll let you know who those are, do continue on into the Zoom Lounge after they talk. So a good opportunity to meet with them. And then we have networking times as well. Don't forget the passport contest so that you can win the Foxwoods Resort Casino, a room giveaway, dinner, and a free pass for race karting. And to do that, you do need to go to the booths, the expo booths that are in our exhibitor hall. You need to claim a deal, post a comment, and like a booth. So those three things. And every time you do that at any booth, that will enter you in for a chance to win. I do just want to let everyone know, as you're on Whova, you can move to the next agenda item. You could stay where you are. This is getting a little technical here, but if you joined us in for the nonprofit awards and you're still watching, that's fine. The stream is going to continue there, but to be able to access all of the chat features so that we can see that, you can move on to the next agenda item. So go to the agenda, move into the manufacturing panel, and then you'll be able to use the chat feature through doing that. I do want to thank all of our investors who help support the Chamber throughout the year. Their sponsorship has been critical to us to be able to put on not only this programming today, but also all of the programming that we're putting on over the last several months as we've moved through the pandemic. We do want to once again thank all of our sponsors for today, Comcast Business, presenting the Big Connect, all of our other sponsors. Also, AMS Practice Management, our sponsor for the day, for Wednesday, all of our programming, and you heard Chris Amaral just a little while ago. Thank you again to Intercity News for sponsoring Bill Strickland, and you can see the rest of our media sponsors here on the slide in front of you. So again, please make sure that you access everything that we have going on here at the Big Connect. There are lots of opportunities to connect, opportunities to meet up with other people. You know, this is not the large in-person event that we normally enjoy doing at the Omni, but this is an opportunity where you can get together with people virtually. You know, we're so focused here at the Chamber on keeping business going. And so unfortunately for now, it has to be virtual, but we think this is a great opportunity to continue to network with people and go visit the booths. We have a great lineup of exhibitors. And so we ask that you support them, connect with them. Possibly you can find a new customer or partner here at the Big Connect. We have a lot of great speakers coming up for the rest of the day today. I'll just, before we get to the manufacturing panel in just a moment, I'll let you know that after that, we will have Commissioner Katie Dykes from the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. That will be presented by American Green Fuels. And then later at noon, we will be hearing about the biotech industry, presented by our Healthcare and Life Sciences Council and sponsored by We Work for Health. Our panel of people within the industry are going to talk about all of the incredible discoveries that are going on here in New Haven and the trajectory for where growth can be for the biotech cluster. Also want to mention about Thursday. So this is a 4-day event. We got 2 days down. We're in the middle of day 3. Wednesday, sponsored by AMS Practice Management. But then on Thursday, we'll be back here again. We will start our morning off with Ross Dotat. Ross does political commentary for the New York Times. He's a columnist there, and he lives here in New Haven. And so he's going to share some of his thoughts on the election, where we go from here. Then we'll be talking about mindfulness from Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, cultivating clarity in difficult times. Thursday is all about strategies for professional development. So we will have Paul Mayer, the president of the Shed Group, and he'll be talking about unique staffing structures, the new contract worker in the gig economy. Wanda Larry from Workforce Alliance will be with us to talk about training for tomorrow. That'll be at 11 o'clock tomorrow. And then also our workshop on how to get hired. Pamela Shand, she's a career coach and with Offer Stage Consulting, and we're excited to hear from her. So there's a lot of different things for everyone out there. Also in the morning, I want to encourage everyone to join us for our networking sessions that will start over on the Zoom room at 8 o'clock. And then also tomorrow afternoon, we'll close out with another networking session on the Zoom room. So a lot of great things going on at the Big Connect. Please take advantage of all of them. We know you can't be with us for all 22 hours of programming that we're running, but come in, come out when it makes sense for you to be able to join in and take part in the programming that we have.